Hi coaches, Ron Silico here. In this video segment, we're going to talk about the defensive fundamentals of defending ball screens, trapping, and rebounding. If you remember in the last video, we talked about the importance of consistent carryover in your defensive fundamentals between man-to-man defense and zone defense, and we're going to continue that discussion in this segment. Ball screens. Everybody, it seems, ball screens today, and it seems like ball screens are the only thing a lot of teams do. So we think if you can disrupt and defend ball screens effectively when you're playing defense, you can really disrupt what a lot of teams are trying to do. So we look at it in a couple different ways. Number one, we look at it as an opportunity for us to trap ball screens. We like to break up rhythm, and we like to get strong traps, and we like to either force that ball handler, who's usually pretty good with the basketball, to either make a play, giving up the basketball, or we're just creating a situation where we can get some steals and turnovers. So we talk about with our players screens coming from two different directions. If they're coming from other post players, which is typically the case, or if they're coming from somewhere else on the perimeter from another guard or forward. So let me illustrate a couple of those here because it is so important. Remember we talked about in the first video, if the ball's in the middle of the floor, we've got our one man guarding the ball and we're in a 1-2-2 or 1-3-1 alignment. We're going to line up in a 1-3-1 alignment in this scenario just to show what we're looking at. So let's say the offense has put a high post player right at the foul line. We've got our 5-man there. We've got our 2 here. We've got our 3 here. And we've got our 4-man in the back. Another offensive player there. So let's say that the screen comes out to get the defensive player. What we talk about is if a post player is coming out to set the ball screen against our zone defense, either our 4 or 5-man, whoever's closest to that player, comes all the way out, and it's typically our 5-man, comes out and really is part of the trap with our on-the-ball defender. So in this situation, screener comes out. We teach our on-the-ball defender, we want them going over the top of the screen and forming the backside of the trap because, again, we want trapping situations here. So our 5-man comes out and really strong. And we have to drill on this constantly, getting our players to be aggressive and really come out and get a strong trap. We can't worry about our players being split or hitting that screen or going to the basket. We tell our players, if that happens, it's because our zone help, which I want to talk about next, is not zoning up, well, we say zoning up the backside. So we want the other 3 players, anytime there's a ball screen scenario, zoning up the backside. So if the dribbler's coming in this direction, and that's another important point, the guy guarding the basketball has to get that guy to use the screen. If he goes away from the screen, that really breaks down the defense, what we found. So force the ball handler to screen and then get the trap. So as this is coming, we want our off-the-ball defender, in case our 2-man here, to really anticipate this pass being made and is really playing that lane aggressively. Our 3 and 4 men, and we teach our help defense this way. Anytime the dribble is going away from you, get to help. So that should be a natural move for our 3-man to help our 4-man provide that zone backside support on the ball screen. So again, our 5-man's jumped out, had a good trap with our 1, and our other 3 players have zoned up the backside and are taking 1 pass away. Now let's say we have the same scenario, it's out in the wing. So let's say the pass is made here. Our 2-man's picked it up. Our 5-man's still guarding our high post guy here. We've got our 4-man here. We've got our 3-man on the backside. We've got our 1-man here. Okay, our 5-man, we want them to read. If that ball screen comes out, they're jumping out with it, getting a good trap. 2-man goes over the top of the screen. 1-man looking for a pass here. and we got our 3 and 4 men zoning up the backside. So again, we want our 5 man jumping out because it's a post player, and then we've got everyone else providing the zone backside support. Now, if this scenario happens, and we don't see this a whole lot, but we do talk about it and we do drill it, is we still stay with traps if guards set screens for other guards. So let's say we've got our 1 man on the ball, our 2 mans here, pass is made, and then they go to set a ball screen, force them to use the dribble. Our 2 man traps the backside, 1 man traps the back, and then we have our 5, our 4, and our 3 men providing the backside zone support. So that's how we defend the perimeter ball screens from guard to guard. Next thing we want to talk about are trapping scenarios. And we just talked about one that we like to use anytime there's a ball screen or players are coming together. It might be a dribble handoff. We treat all those as ball screens, and we want strong traps with zone support on the backside. Some other trapping situations, you may do this in a half-court situation. If you've got a team that you really like to use run and jump defensive concepts with, sometimes we talk about if dribblers are coming right at you, and this is usually a call for us, designated call that if we're trapping the dribbler, say the 1 man's on the ball, our 2 man was here, designated call, and we've got a trap there. Another call that we might have, starting the basketball here, we're really trying to overplay the dribble. So then as a spin dribble gets made, anytime we see a spin dribble, we get our player coming from the backside. Right as that spin is being made towards them, they come up and attack it. And again, we have the zone support coming up on the backside. Another situation that we've used in the past is on a first pass made. Pass gets made here, we trap it. So those are some concepts that we've done from trapping standpoints. We've also done, and I've also seen anytime there's boundary situations. So we got the ball that gets close to the sideline or gets in the corners. Those might be trapping areas for you. Point again that I'm trying to make here is that try and use the same defensive fundamentals, whether you're in man-to-man or zone defense. Talked about post defense in the last segment. If you double team the post, that's a trapping situation. Use the same concepts between your man-to-man and zone defenses. Last thing I want to talk about, because it's one of the most important fundamentals and one of the biggest factors in winning basketball games, is rebounding. Rebounding in a zone is hard sometimes from the standpoint you really got to locate people to block out, and you really got to get to some key positions. But the key positions that we always want is triangular rebounding. We want our 5 man in the middle, we want our 4 man here on one block, and our 3 man on the other block. These players have to get to the block regardless if there's multiple offensive players on their side of the floor. They've got to get to the block. Not a lot of rebounds are going to kick to the baseline. A lot of rebounds do kick to this wing area, so we want players getting on the block. What we have found as a real key is those players cannot get compressed by the basket, especially on long jump shots. They've got to step out. They've got to make contact with the players away from the basket and give themselves a nice area to work with in front of the basket, this area here. So we're not crowded under the basket and we're not getting pinched under the basket, so we can get those long rebounds. And then we want our guards getting into this foul line area as much as possible. Sometimes our guards are out contesting jump shots, but we want at least one guard in this foul line area at all times.